Welcome to Badminton Weekly with me, Jasmine Lim. It has been a packed 2 months of HSBC BWF World Tour tournaments in Asia, where there were plenty of first-time champions. No surprises that China were the big winners in this Asian leg of the competition, mainly thanks to the B-team players who collected most of the titles across 5 tournaments. While Malaysia was the other nation that celebrated great results, especially in the men's doubles discipline. Steen Pedersen with more on the hits and misses of this Asian leg.
Well, I've picked 2 different winners, and the first one I've gone with is actually not a person or a pair. That is the Chinese men's singles department. I think that they've done incredibly well. Liu Guangzu won the Korea Open in men's single. Then Liang and Wang, he reached the final in Hong Kong Open and played magnificently. The week after, he beat Victor Axelsen, the one he lost to in the final in Hong Kong Open. He beat him on home soil in Changzhou. Then finally, of course, Weng Hongyang re-emerged on the scene almost a year after he won his first Super 750 when he won Denmark Open last year in October. Now he is back and won his home event in a fairly convincing style. He had a little bit of trouble against Antonsen, but that was very impressive. So in general, the Chinese men's singles department really impressed me throughout these 6 weeks of tournaments. The other big winners in this Asia leg, in my opinion, is from Malaysia. That is Go Sifei and Nur Isudin. They won their last tournament as national team players for the Badminton Association of Malaysia. They won the Japan Open, and that was a great accomplishment for them. It was a good way of saying goodbye to the national team and then going independent. Then they had a couple of tournaments where they sort of had to get used to being independent, or perhaps they're just targeting the big tournaments now where they are independent and have to sort of earn their own salary. So you could say that they've absolutely timed it well, because they also ran away with the title in China Open. They've definitely played themselves into the top mix in the men's doubles pairs that you have to reckon whenever you talk about who can win the tournaments, who can win the biggest tournaments, who can win medals. But there's also some of them who hasn't really performed to what we expected given their pre-Olympic performances, and the most obvious one is perhaps Xi Yuqi, in my opinion. He's also played a number of tournaments following the Olympics where he must have been disappointed finishing without a medal. He was the hot favorite coming into the Olympics, being the top seed. It looked in the beginning as if he was actually doing okay in Japan, but then he ran into a certain young Frenchman, Alex Lanier, and especially the loss in his home tournament, China Open, to Anthony Ginting. I think purely from a distance, and my personal view, that when you have a goal as big as the Olympics, and when you are in your career, when you have the age that Xi has, then it's very likely that not fulfilling your goals creates an emptiness, a void, and perhaps also even a little bit of a life crisis to figure out where is life going from here, what are my next goals. He's probably realizing that he's not going to win an Olympic gold medal, let alone an Olympic medal. So he's got to regroup and really dig deep inside his own mind and figure out what does he want to do, what is his goals for the future. Another player who the results have been not so good this Asian leg is Tai Tzu Ying. And one of the things that she's lost to Putri Kusumo-Wadana, she's lost to Busanan, she's lost to Julia Daval from Denmark. The form isn't there. It looks like she's playing injured. So if she's hurt, then I'm a little bit puzzled as to why she's playing on still, because when her body doesn't cooperate and if she's limited in her movements, then her playing level is not as we used to see Tai Tzu Ying. Of course, it hurts her the most, but it also hurts me as a spectator to see a player that I know has the most amazing top level, to see her play below par. That's sad, and I wish that she either calls it a day, as she hinted at before the Olympics, or that she recovers from her knee injury and can play to something like the level that we saw throughout her fantastic career. But as with all players, there's always some kind of explanation, there's always a reason behind it, and obvious for Tai Tzu Ying, well, she's not fully fit.
New pairings have been another hot topic during the Asian leg of the HSBC BWF World Tour. Many were surprised to see Jia Yi Fan pairing up with two different players instead of her Olympic gold partner Chen Xingchen. But that did not stop the 27-year-old from guiding her new partners to a semi-final finish at the Japan and China Opens. Chris Langridge explains why Jia has enjoyed continuous success as a doubles player.
To be totally honest with you, I think it comes down to she is a legend in regards to when you kind of sit down and just look at her results. You know, they are astonishing. I mean, I've seen her play for a long time, but she's been world #1 for approximately the last kind of 7 years, which is insane in itself. But she is such a complete player, you know, she's so experienced, she's dominated the game for the last 2 years, and to do that, I think people underestimate how phenomenal that is. She could gel to a reasonable level with any player just because of how good she is. Certain aspects that are phenomenal. I think I would put her, and it's a bit of a bold statement, as she has the best flick serve out of any female in the world. And she, in the doubles category, she has one of the best flicks, full stop. The amount of times I've seen her catch her opponent because the strength she has at the last second to make it deceptive is phenomenal. She's such a well-rounded rear court player. For me, she is definitely a rear court player. And when she partnered Chen Xingchen, she was definitely her favoured role was at the rear of the court, and that's where she was amazing. Slightly less comfortable at the net, but that's because she was so well moulded with her previous partner that's their favoured role. It's not that she can't play at the net, but I'd say that's not a position that looks quite as comfortable in. But there's no other real weakness. Defence, she moves the shuttle around well, incredibly strong with a drive in defence, very athletic. I think people only really realise a legend when the legend stops, and then people sort of pause and actually look in more detail at the results. And when you do that, there isn't anything she hasn't won. If you look at the last 4 years, she's won the last 3 World Championships and the Olympics. There's no word to describe how good she has been. So this is the bit for me that I'm not 100% sure of in regards to, personally, I always think a partnership gels well when you have someone who prefers to be a net player and is better at the net, and a player that is better at the rear, generally. It's not always the case, but in simple terms, if you look at a lot of the successful partnerships over the years, there's been a favoured role. Previously, obviously, Jia Fan has been one of, if not the very, very best, rear court player, and that's just because of the way the roles worked with her previous partner. With Zheng Yu, I feel, for me, it's going to be a bit more of a, not a 50-50 relationship, but it's going to have to be, she's going to have to get forward more. She's going to have a greater, not necessarily confidence, because obviously she's a very confident player, she's phenomenal, but it's almost how comfortable she is at the net. She's good at the net, there's no doubt about it, she's very good, but she's not as phenomenal at the net as she is as the rear, and I think that's going to be an area that is going to, if it's going to be a long-term partnership, she's just going to have to maybe adjust a bit to get more comfortable in that role. And you know, she's that good that I believe it's going to take a short duration, but we're going to see a slightly different version of Jia Yi Fan than we've previously seen, just because she is going to have to take on a different role in this partnership. And the interesting thing is, how is the partnership going to evolve over time? If China do decide for the next 6 months, year, that they are going to play together, then are we going to see a kind of an evolved version of Jia Yi Fan where she is more comfortable at the net? Or maybe you've almost got two players chasing forward because their rear court's so good, they're not as worried about the rear. I think it's going to be interesting to see the kind of evolution of, you know, the best ladies doubles, well, part of the best ladies doubles partnership we've had for the last sort of, you could even say 4 years, because how dominant they've been. And I think only time will tell exactly how we're going to see that partnership evolve, and if it's going to be a continuation of that partnership. I feel like Jia Yi Fan, her role is almost to bring on her partner. She's so experienced, she's done everything, you know, she's completed badminton basically. And now her role is to try and help the next generation, who are, you know, only slightly below. We're not talking about a big gap, we're talking about a player who's, you know, very, very good herself. Yes, this partnership we're discussing at the moment, have they got something special? Definitely, from the rear of the court, but who's the player that is going to get the lift? You need the net player to be the slightly more creative one to get the lift for the partner. And that's the only thing I'm not 100% sure of with Zheng Yu, just because she's phenomenal at the back, dangerous, but she's not also comfortable at the net.
From one doubles pair to another, Liang and Wang had a great first half of the season, winning 2 titles and reaching the top of the world rankings before the Olympics. The Chinese pair were, however, denied gold by Liang and Wang in Paris. The world #1s, though, refused to dwell on that loss and aim to improve themselves for future tournaments.
我觉得是对我们 这一段时间备战的一种肯定吧，因为能站上领奖台，其实对于我们来说也是很好的，就是有遗憾，就是没有最后能变成金牌，但是也算是一个挺好的一个答案。
不说我都快忘了奥运银牌这个事情，就过了一个多月了，我觉得，银牌对我们，我觉得在我们的期望里算中间吧，表现的算是可圈可点，但也有进步的地方。对，反正确实过去1个月都快忘记了。从这次中公开始，我们还是重新开始，继续好好打比赛。
其实你们所说的松弛感是源于平时我们的训练会有过多的训练，然后有一定的基础，所以说我们的场上很多的球我们不是没有遇见过，我们都见过，所以说我们才会看我们有很多松弛感的东西。其实也是平时训练累积足够了。
我们还是希望给广大观众一个良好的一个观赛感觉，就是在紧张之余也不忘表现我们00后的一种精气神吧，就比较松弛一点。
我觉得对我们场上人其实没什么太大影响吧。我觉得我们更多是做自己，然后我也觉得呼吁大家就多关注我们场上的比赛，就其他的不要。
场上的话，我们还是一样，我们该怎么打球还是一样怎么打球的，该松弛还是松弛。就是其实外界的声音对我们自己的职业生涯和技战术发挥没有太大的一个关系，对我们来说。
The Sands China Limited Macau Open was missing many of the big names. However, that did not stop the Chinese players from winning 4 out of the 5 disciplines for a second straight competition. While China impressed at this Super 300 event, there were other standout performances according to our BWF commentator, Bobby Griffin.
Well, first of all, in the men's singles, I really wanted to be stood here talking about Indonesia's young World Junior champion Alvi Farhan, but he lost in the semi-finals. Terrific match. I'm convinced he's going to be a real powerhouse for the future, so I do want to mention him. I can see him becoming a top 5 player in the world, you know, world titles, Olympic medals, that kind of thing in the future, but he's still only 19 years old. Because he lost, I want to mention Angus Ng-Kar-Long from Hong Kong. Incredible the way he handled that match in the semi-final. He needed every ounce of guile and experience to turn that match around at 30 years old, and to see him in the final again and he's winning. He's probably got my pick for this week. I'd probably say in the women's singles game, I was really impressed by Lin Xiangti from Chinese Taipei. Unexpected to see her make it through to the final. Tough match against the young Tomoka Miyazaki from Japan, which I think everyone would have picked to see come through to this final. It wasn't her best game, but the way Lin handled that pressure and to make it through was really impressive. Li Wenmei and Zhang Xuxian, they're a new pair, 3rd tournament out, with China's changing of the guard, so to speak, since the Olympic Games, with Chen Qingchen taking a hiatus, Jia Yi Fan's move, playing with different partnerships. To see them looking so strong. They were in the final of the China Open, but to see this pair hit the ground running the way they have, win the finals, and to see them do so well in just a few weeks is incredible. And there's probably one more pair I want to mention as well, and that's in the men's doubles. Similar kind of story. China's Chen Zhuyun and Lin Ji. They did well in the Hong Kong Open a couple of weeks ago. They beat Ong and Teo, who are World Championship bronze medalists in the past. They've come here, they've taken out the top seeds on day 1, they've beaten the 4th and 5th seeds to get to this final. It's only their 2nd tournament together. They're so far down in the rankings, but they are looking incredible.
With the Macau Open done, the HSBC BWF World Tour takes a break this week before heading to Finland for the Clash Royale Arctic Open next on October the 8th. Do join us again next week as we look ahead to the European leg of the tour. And before we go, Badminton Weekly would like to wish Mohammad Rian Adianto and Ripka Sugiarto a big congratulations on their wedding. The happy couple got married on Saturday, and Adianto's doubles partner Fajra Alfian, among other teammates, were present to celebrate the special occasion. Well, that's it from us. Wishing you all a great week ahead and see you soon.